Have you been using AAC communication boards, but something about them just hasn't been clicking? Hi, I'm Mary Smithson from Sound Advice for Kids, and this happened to me. And so several years ago, I switched to using low-tech masked core vocabulary communication boards, and it really made all the difference. So I made this video so you can take a look at it and see if this might work for you.
Now, for those of you who don't know, a core vocabulary communication board is used with students with special needs who have a communication delay. So it may be that they are completely nonverbal and need another mode of communication, or maybe even have limited language and need to build up a vocabulary, a lexicon, and start using some simple phrases and so forth. So the core vocabulary part of the communication board is that we use core words that can be used in multiple situations and with multiple environments and with multiple communication partners, that they're used all the time. For example, a core word would be go, because you can use go when you're at school. You can use go when you're talking about being in the tub and you want your boat to go in the water. You can use go all the time. But the word scissors, that word is only used in specific times. You don't typically use that maybe at dinner time or out on the playground. You really wouldn't need to have a board that had the picture of scissors on it. So that's the difference between core words and fringe words, which are the specific words needed for specific situations. The core vocabulary boards that I like to use are called masked boards. And they're boards that start with a full slate of words on one page, but then some of the icons are masked as you remove some of the icons to make it easier for a student to visually scan and to learn where the words are. So let's move on to this one. This is the 77 icon board that I use. And that's quite a number of icons on there. And it can be pretty overwhelming for even a teacher to look at this board and say, oh yeah, I can learn how to use this really fast. Not so fast. I did not start with the 77 board. It was just too overwhelming. What made it easier for me to learn and for my students was to mask some of these words and to make it a simpler visual field for them. So we start out with the 77 and then we start to mask some of the words that maybe aren't as important as other words for a verbally limited student. Here we go from a 77. We take away some, and now there's 50. A lot easier to look at and to comprehend. We take out even more and go down to a 30, and then we take out the final set and we have 21. Now, this is something that we can kind of grapple with and start with because there's not so much on the page. This is where I started, and it really helped me start here. And the students I was working with at the time really needed this very simple visual field. All those other icons, it's just too stimulating for them, and they wouldn't be able to remember where those icons were or to visually track them with their eyes. So this was much better. So I quickly learned where do is. My students can learn do. They can learn stop and want and help and look and so forth. And the great thing about a masked board, besides making it less visually distracting, is that all of the icons stay in the same place from board to board. So once the student learns a motor plan that, oh, I go up to the upper right to find ready, then on each successive board, ready is still in the same place. Now keep your eye on ready, still in the same place, all the way up to this 77 icon board. It makes it so it's faster for the student to communicate when they now expanded their verbal capability with more icons. Let me show you what happens when you use a board like this. Nothing wrong with this board. I actually started with a board like this and then went to the masked boards. So here's just 20. And the great thing about this one is the icons are bigger. So this would be probably great for a student who is visually impaired or has some visual issues because the icons are better. So you have to match the communication system to the student. But the issue I had with this is that as we increase the number of words that are available to the student, the icons can't always stay the same place because you still want it on one page. So the dimensions of the boxes stay or get smaller, and then you add in other things. So sometimes things move. And that makes it harder for the student. Then they have to learn a whole new motor plan of where to find that icon. It's not automatic anymore when they go to a bigger board. So for instance, there's the 20 board, we've got ready. Let's see, so we're used to going up, upper right corner, ready, ready, ready is up here. That's where our hand goes automatically. Now we switch, uh-oh, that's not ready there. Oh, it's over on the other side. Now, for a lot of us, that's not that different, but for some of our kids, that's a big deal to have to look to the next square over instead of putting that finger right on the upper right-hand corner on the top. Now look what happens now when you go to an even bigger board with away, and what happens with away. So now we've retaught the kids where ready is. We've taught them the new word away, which was not on the previous board, but now we're ready to go on to more words. So, what? What's there? Now ready is in the same basic position, but where is away? We've got a new word. Where are we going to find away? Well, it's down here towards the bottom. So now we've got to learn another motor plan for away. We want to eliminate having to relearn things with our students who have communication difficulties. We want to make it as easy as possible for them. The other thing about the communication boards that I like is that you can put the Fringe vocabulary right up here. Those are those specific words that you can use for different situations. So what I do is put them on a ring, and so I can flip them over, and I can have colors up there, I can have numbers, I could have weather words, I could have greeting words, I could have pictures of classmates up there, all different kinds of things. And I can just move them if the student goes from this 21 board and moves up to a 30 board, which I often put just on the back of the 21. So we can just move those fringe words around on the other side so they're ready to go, and we don't need to have a whole new setup. We want to eliminate distractions. We want to eliminate having multiple pages that the student and the teacher have to rifle through to be able to find the words that they want.
Well, I hope this has helped you understand what core vocabulary communication boards are and why you might want to use masked boards. This has really worked for me and my students, and so you might want to give it a try. Of course, you always need to take the needs of the student into account and match their needs with the device. But this is something that I think you might want to take into consideration and think about. I sure appreciate you watching. Thanks.